We're now taking a ferry across the Dardanelles to Gallipoli.
The Battle of Gallipoli was fought in World War I and took place in the Ottoman Empire between April 1915 through January 1916. Intending to secure the Dardanelles, Britain and France launched a naval attack spearheaded by Winston Churchill and was followed by an amphibious landing on the peninsula with the aim of capturing the Ottoman capital Constantinople, which is modern-day Istanbul. If successful, capture of the Straits would have allowed the Allies to link up with the Russians in the Black Sea, where they could work together to knock Turkey out of the war. The naval attack was repelled, and after 8 months of fighting, with many casualties on both sides, the land campaign was abandoned due to lack of sufficient intelligence and knowledge of the terrain, along with fierce Turkish resistance.
Well, we're here at Gallipoli, and this is the Aegean Sea. Across the way is the original landing site for the Australian New Zealand troops, but they accidentally landed over here, where we are now. And behind me, the Turks were positioned in all the hills. So when the Australians and New Zealanders landed, they pretty much got massacred.
In all, some 480,000 Allied forces took part in the Gallipoli campaign, with more than 141,000 casualties, including some 45,000 dead, 8,700 of whom were Australians. Among the dead were also over 2,700 New Zealanders, about 1/6 of all of those who landed on the peninsula. On the Turkish side, the campaign also cost an estimated 250,000 casualties, with between 65,000 and 86,000 killed. The campaign was one of the greatest Ottoman victories during the war. In Turkey, it's regarded as a defining moment in the nation's history. The struggle formed the basis for the Turkish War of Independence and the declaration of the Republic of Turkey 8 years later under Mustafa Kemal, who was also known as Ataturk, which translates to Father of the Turks, and who first rose to prominence as a commander at Gallipoli. The campaign is also often considered as marking the birth of national consciousness in Australia and New Zealand, and the date of the landing, April 25th, is known as Anzac Day.
And we do have a few Aussies and New Zealanders on our tour, so this has a special significance for them. Like so many historical sites, when you get there decades after, it's hard to imagine what actually happened here because it's very serene.
This cemetery was made in 1915, and in 1926 and 1927, graves are brought in from 2 other cemeteries. There are now 252 Commonwealth servicemen of the First World War buried or commemorated in this cemetery. 42 of the burials are unidentified, but special memorials commemorate 5 casualties believed to be buried among them.
Here's a better look at some of the hills where Ataturk placed the Turkish troops, and they were in a great position to fire down upon the Australians and New Zealanders. This is a statue of a wounded Australian soldier being carried by a Turkish soldier.
I don't think I can. How sunny is it? Yeah, old Johnny. No, I'm not going to get the word out.
You can do a selfie. Come on, who's the
This is the Lone Pine Cemetery, named after the lone pine in front of us.
Australians, oh let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Pride of nations,
There's another view of Anzac Cove way down there. We're at a different location, and these are some of the actual trenches that were used to fight during the Battle of Gallipoli. And opposing soldiers were very close sometimes to each other in these trenches. And I think these are the original wooden structures. This battle happened 100 years ago. Here's a much better look at the trenches. And this is a memorial to the New Zealand soldiers.